Good morning, Tampa Bay. It's hump day. July 6th. Welcome, Channelside in the morning live on the Channelside Sports Network. You know me, I am Danny. You know that man to the right of me might be a little Bigfootish, but it is Evan Bush.
Yeah, I'm channeling my inner Florida man. I'm like growing out my beard and growing my hair long. So it's
nothing wrong with that.
No, and it's the summertime, which is kind of a dumb idea because it's really hot. So
yeah. I think we talked about that before when you shaved your beard off a few weeks ago. And I was like, I have not had a beard for over half of my life now. Yeah. And I don't even remember what I look like without a beard.
Well, that's like that usually happens sometimes if I mess up shaving, so I'll have to shave it down. That wasn't totally shaven down. That was just there was stubble there. It wasn't like totally shaved off.
It's true, yeah.
So, but now it's.
But I did find it like, who's this guy on the camera?
Holy shit. Now it's back though. Welcome everybody. Good morning to you.
Good morning to all of you live on the old Twitter machine. We appreciate you guys tuning in here. Mm-hmm. We've got a lot to unpack today. We really do. We're going to do a little temperature check on the Rays because it is officially mid-season as of now. We'll talk, kind of dissect where the Rays are. That might end up being the bulk of our show. Let's be real here. A lot of NFL news, football news, Bucks notes, and then even more college football conference realignment talk, which is absolutely nuts to me because
it's bonkers and it needs to stop.
It is. Did you see? We'll talk about this later. But did you see that there's a loose partnership proposal? Like what?
Hold on. Dial that back. Loose partnership with what now?
So the
ACC. You know what, Daniel? Let's just get into the.
We'll do that.
Let's get into the conference talk. Let's just.
The ACC and the Pac-12 are considering
merging together.
Working together and having a championship game between the conferences in Las Vegas. Now, I like that idea.
Okay.
I like the idea of them doing that playoff essentially between the two conferences. I think that that's pretty cool. And I think that if it's done right, that it could be successful. And it could lead to other conferences starting to do things like that to where it is more effective, really, because what's one thing, no matter what school you root for, what is one thing that all college football fans have in common?
They all hate Alabama and the SEC.
But they also hate the way that the playoffs are ranked, and they hate the ranking system and the bowl system. Like, so for me, that's a little hard.
So let me get this straight. This would be a playoff game before the actual playoff game?
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
You're making it more complicated now.
And that's also very true as well.
Just expand the playoffs. I know they've been talking about that even after the 4-game playoff was put in place. They were even talking about maybe even expanding it even more. So it's like, just do that. Make it 6 or 8. And that's that. Let's stop talking about this. I think them working together is a cool idea. But having a playoff game before the actual playoff it's a dumb idea. You might as well just expand the actual college football playoff to 6 or 8 teams instead of doing all that. That just makes it more complicated.
And maybe that is the long-term goal of this partnership between the two, because obviously, the Pac-12 lost its 2 biggest schools to the Big Ten.
And now the ACC is looking to maybe lose 3 of their biggest schools.
Right. Miami, FSU, and Clemson, right?
Like Clemson now, yes.
I mean, so when you're talking about, 3 of your breadwinners from the ACC, 2 of the largest schools from the Pac-12 leaving the Pac-12, you're kind of left with scraps in those 2 conferences now. I know we talked about it yesterday, possibly, maybe we should just consider realigning altogether. And I guess that's kind of what they're doing, but they're going about it in such a weird manner.
We joked about it yesterday about how some of these teams that are location wise shouldn't be even like considered like a West Coast team or an East Coast team. This is what you should do. You should have 3 conferences: East, Central, West. Boom. Top 16s go into the playoff. There you go. How you doing? Keep it moving. That's it. That's all you need to do. You don't need to do any of this realignment, and you don't need to do like 2 power conferences. Have 3 conferences: East, Central, West, and then that'll make sense for everybody.
And the best teams get in. Period. It doesn't matter what the schedule is. Like that's it.
The top. So you're gonna do okay if it's an 18 playoff, then you have with 3 divisions. That'd be kind of tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do a 9-team playoff. Number 1 team gets a bye in the first round, something like that.
There you go. Yeah, I like that. That could be an idea. That's not a bad. Yeah, the number 1 ranked team gets a bye.
So Alabama gets a bye the first round.
First round.
Next to pretty much every season.
Honestly, man, like this I almost missed the days of the BCS.
Yeah.
Because it just makes this too much more complicated now than when the BCS was happening. And the BCS was flawed a lot, but still, I mean, you ultimately had a champion at the end. You just had this 2 jumbled around, and now teams are jumping conferences and going in other conferences, and then it's just you're going to have conferences that are so weak and not even relevant anymore. It doesn't make sense to have all these conferences now.
Right, and that's the problem. I mean, there's talks about the Big 12 is going to have a conference, a meeting between school representatives and things about expanding that now, and it's there's so much movement going on that very much like the Tampa Bay Rays owner needs to do. The commissioner of college football needs to step in and just say, "Hey, we're going to take over, and this is what's going to happen."
Yep,
done. You guys. Is the college football playoff system great? Absolutely not. But it was a step in the right direction from the cluster of the BCS. It's not perfect, but they've shown that hey, we're okay with trying to make things better and trying to positively move forward. I think, and here's the thing, when you talked about the conferences, if you look at where we are currently, look at this 36 national championships alone in the SEC after the realignment. And by the way, the SEC didn't even get a team. The Big 10's at 24, and they picked up UCLA and USC. It's insane to me. And then you got the Pac-12 1, the Big 12 with 2.
Yeah, I think what they should do is just merge the AC. Like there should just be the SEC in the Big 10. I mean,
it's difficult because so and you have to rename them. I feel like you have to rename them unless you go with the directional conferencing of where the SEC is actually Southeastern Conference, and it's only teams and only schools that are in the southeast of the U.S., which it pretty much is now anyway, right?
Right.
You look at the Big 10. I get it; it doesn't really signify anything, but like you said, do like a East, West, and Central, or you can do it. Go a little bit different. You could do an East, West, do an East and a West like the NFL does, and then you could have your subdivisions in there. Done.
But it's all about the money,
which is super strange to me, because if you're a school and you move from, let's say you're USC and you move from the Pac-12 to the Big 10, what really is in it differently financially for you? If you're going from if you're going from being the leader of your conference to, sure, it's a bigger conference, but that doesn't mean you're going to be on TV more. USC was always on TV regardless. They have so it's just a weird concept to me of why you would have these teams wanting to move and change conferences, because it's not going to be that much more lucrative, if at all.
Well, that's why I think they think it is going to be more lucrative if they go to these bigger conferences, because of the bigger TV money and the bigger eyes on the schools themselves. If they go to these bigger conferences, because these bigger conferences do have more games on television.
Which is, yeah. I mean, I know you have the Big 10 network, right? But who actually has the Big Ten Network and who actually watches the Big Ten Network?
Right.
I'm a Michigan fan. I've never watched a Michigan game on the Big Ten Network.
Most of the games that you see on CBS and NBC, like CBS is mostly what? SEC?
Yeah.
And then NBC usually is the ACC, and then
Notre Dame.
Yeah, ABC is kind of like a mix of everything else.
Yeah, and I think that's the ESPN style of play in it, where
Right.
they just kind of broadcast the biggest games that they possibly can, which I feel like that's what it should be at all times.
Right.
You want these schools like how often does UCF get clowned? We're going to call ourselves the unofficial national champions. We went undefeated. I totally get it, right? I understand that aspect of it because you play who you're scheduled. And if you're going to win and you're going to play well, I mean, you should get something just because you play in the SEC and the Big Ten. Come on.
Honestly, I think with the whole UCF crowning them national championship was like that little kid on the team that needs a participation trophy. That's what UCF is. And they'll always be that team that just needs a participation trophy because, you went undefeated one season. Congratulations.
And then you suck the rest of it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, they got no credit and no notoriety. Look, when you go 12-0 and you go undefeated, that's big, right? That's great. You should get some level of respect for that because you went undefeated in every game that you were scheduled to play. Now, when we're talking about, look who they played. Look who they played. Is it their fault that they're in that conference? Like, now that everything is realigning, should they reach out and say, hey, we want to join the SEC? Hey, we want to join the Big Ten. Everybody else is doing it. Like, and that's where it just gets flawed to me is you have these schools that did accomplish great things. And look, and I'm not a UCF guy, so I'm not trying to, mark out for UCF here, but like when you go undefeated and you get like absolutely no credit for going undefeated, like that's kind of a joke.
Well, they didn't really play anybody that big.
Right, but but that's not their fault. That's
I mean, yeah, they won against Auburn in a bowl game, but like that Auburn team wasn't all that great when they played them anyways.
Right.
I would say put UCF in the SEC and let's see how they do. And then talk about it.
Right.
Let's see how they do.
So put them in there and then let's see if they happen to make the playoffs, great. If USF gets put in the SEC and happens to make the playoffs, fantastic. I mean, look at what happened when Miami went from the Big East to the ACC. Now that also happened to do with the whole Ponzi scheme being being exposed and all of that, and then nobody else going to Miami for 2 decades almost now.
But, I mean, I'm looking at the SEC teams right now. I mean, all of these programs are relatively good programs, and not just speaking as a football as a whole, but also looking at when it comes to basketball too.
Yeah.
So, you could add more teams to this, but it's just going to become so jumbled together. You just need to have a simplified conferences where it's just maybe 2 or 3. I would say 4 at the max. Have 4 power conferences and then have it done with.
Yep.
Because just now with you have so many teams jumping from conference to conference, it just becomes too muddled. So I would just say let's do 4 power conferences and just leave it at that.
I'm for it. I'm a-okay with that. North, south, east, west, done.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can name them however the hell you want. Remember when the NHL they like rented out sponsorships for each conference, for each of their divisions during the pandemic? They're like, the Lightning were playing in the Discover Card.
I remember that.
East or whatever the hell that was called. Perfect. Do something like that. I mean, you've already done that with all the bowl games. It's not just like the Sugar Bowl. It's always or the Fiesta Bowl, the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl.
I think it's also going to change too with schools going to different conferences too as well, because now you have college athletes being paid now.
Right.
So you're going to want to be in the best conferences available. That way your athletes are taken care of. That way they will stay at your school.
Mm-hmm.
too as well. I think that also plays a huge factor in why maybe some teams are jumping from conference to conference. Is, hey, we're in the AAC right now. We want to maybe dip our toes in the SEC. That way, we're going to get the more quality athletes than other teams in the ACC or the Big Ten or the Pac-12. If we're in the SEC, now we can compete with the Alabamas of the world or the LSUs of the world, the Florida Gators of the world, where we can attract those quality players into that conference now because we're in there. And obviously the more dollar amount is going to come there if we're going to be going to this conference too. Be like, hey, we're down the SEC. Let's generate that revenue for those quality athletes. So I think that plays a huge factor into as well.
Yeah. And just move them. Like you said, it's going to end up coming down to that anyway.
Right.
Because the way that everything is currently aligned, it just does not make sense. I mean, even if you broke it up and did like two and did a North and a South, you've already got two teams from the South in the Big Ten, which would be in the North, right? Like, so it's already a broken system. Even if you try to organize it directionally, it's already a broken system in terms of that. So figure something out. Step in. Don't be afraid. We know what being afraid to step in does. It results in 15 years of conversation and pushbacks until August. You find out nothing. Thanks, Stu. Let's go ahead and talk about our boys over across the causeway, shall we? It's officially halfway through the season. We've made it. It's officially halfway through. The beginning of June, everybody kept saying there's a long season. There's a lot of baseball. Well, we're officially 50% of the way done. Is there still a lot of baseball, or when does that halt?
That halts in August.
In August.
Yeah. Late August that halts. That conversation halts because September is when if you're fighting for a playoff spot, now's the time to do it because there isn't much baseball left. So when it comes mid-August, that's when that conversation starts. Because we have a whole month and then August and then it's game time if you're struggling to make a playoff.
So I want to ask you this.
Yes.
Playoff outlook. How do you feel about the Rays making the playoffs? Now I know they're in fourth, right? And we talked about,
but it's a tightly
right. Yeah, but it's also getting tighter with the Baltimore Orioles creeping up too to tighten that gap between second and fifth.
Right.
Which that makes it even more difficult, in my opinion, because now it's really just it's almost like a crapshoot at that point.
Right. I mean, right now they hold the second spot for the wild card.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I still feel pretty good about them making the playoffs. If we were having this conversation a few weeks ago when they just utterly looked like crap and they were losing, I would say no. But they have looked relative. I mean, last night's game, winning 8-4 against the Red Sox, was a good bounce back from losing the first game being shut out. That's good. And then taking 3 out of 4 against Toronto over the past weekend, that's good as well. So there's signs in the right direction that they're getting the tools, and they're getting guys back too. Right. Rumor has it Tyler Glasnow might be back after the All-Star break.
Okay.
He's nearing a rehab assignment pretty soon. So that is a huge sign. I mean, you get him back. I mean, you're getting the guys back that you need at the right time. They got Kiermaier back. Kiermaier looked pretty good last night. Knocked in cleared the bases last night.
Yep.
First inning. And then you have Wander Franco back. I mean, these guys are, and plus I think depending on the injury with Manuel Margot, you might get him back later on too as well, because from what they were saying a couple weeks ago, the knee injury isn't that significant like they thought it was going to be. So he might not need surgery.
Which is good because, yeah.
Huge. So, the tight race in the AL East is tight. So I still feel pretty good about it. The midway. So if we're going to give midway season grades, I would give the Rays a B-. They're like right above the C+. I would give them a B-, and that's being generous, of course.
I was going to give them a C+.
Okay.
But I feel like C+ is where a C to me is where you're like, you're not doing that great, but you're also not doing that bad.
Right.
I mean, according to my mother, when I was growing up, if you got a C, then you were doing terrible. Hey, you're the worst person ever.
Danny, C's get degrees, my brother.
Oh yeah,
but I can respect giving that C+.
for sure, 100%. It's and I get the B- too, but I mean they're kind of interchangeable. It's like a 1A 1B situation when you're that close.
Right, and there's some weeks where they look like a C+, and there's some weeks they look like a B- and above that too as well.
And then
So
there's some games where they look like an F-.
yes, totally. I totally agree with that wholeheartedly. I look at it this way too. At the halfway mark, that they're in the right spot where they need to be now. And we've talked about the win streaks before. Is now string along some more win streaks, but maybe have more than 3 games, because that way you're really going to really set yourself apart and maybe gain some traction on who's really. I mean, right now the Red Sox, the Rays, and the Blue Jays are separated by a game apiece. They're separated by a game, so you really have to kind of string yourself along and be away from those two teams going forward after the heading into the All-Star break. You really kind of have to string. Hey, we maybe need to get a little bit above these guys just to kind of have a little bit of breathing room going into that playoff push in late September.
So if we're looking at where the current postseason odds are, the percentage of making the postseason.
Has it gone up since the last time it was 70% the last time we
71.3% currently.
Okay.
The Blue Jays dropped to 70.8%, which is a 6% drop from yesterday, where the Rays went up 11% yesterday with their win over the Red Sox. The Red Sox are still at nearly 80% though, as well. So I mean, it's it's going to take a wild card bid at this point, because the Yankees are. This is the AL East is theirs this season, so it's going to have to be a wild card berth, and they're the highest. They currently have the highest odds for the wild card.
Okay,
out of the rest of the American League. So,
what's funny, and what's would be kind of wild if Baltimore, like, all of a sudden has like a major league, like, hey, you guys stink. And they just start ripping off wins, and then they're getting into it too now. Now they're above 500, and now they're in the race for the wild card spot too. So now you have the other 4 teams in the AL East that are vying for a wild card spot. I would love to see that happen.
I was going to say, as a baseball fan, that's what you want, though. You want these tight races at the end.
I would love to see that happen, especially if it came down to another game, 162 again, where like, yeah, you have the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and the Orioles fighting for that last spot. That would be amazing. Awesome.
I'd be totally for that, because that's what you look to watch at the end.
I mean, Baltimore's they're 38-44. I mean, it is possible. It's plausible it could happen.
It's entirely possible. So well, I mean, we'll see.
They're 6 games out. They're 6 games out of the second wild card spot. That's not.
It's not terrible.
It's not all terrible. I mean, that's 6 games. You can pick up 6 games.
Yeah.
Orioles fans, I'm rooting for you. I want it to happen.
It'll
be fun. It'll be fun. It'll be a fun time.
I hope that. Yeah, I hope that they close that race a little bit, because when was the last time we saw 4 teams be that close to finish a division?
Not in the division. I don't think we've ever seen that happen. But obviously, a few years ago when it did come down to game 162 for a couple of teams, that was a fun time.
Yeah.
I will say this though. I think it all depends on who's going to be the most active at the trade deadline too at August 1st, because that is coming up. Because now in this month, you're going to see the rumor mill is going to start heating up. You're going to start to see those. Okay, hey, whoever is going to start to make moves now, they're going to start doing it before the deadline too as well. So I think whoever comes out with hey, we're making these types of moves to make our push, that's what you're going to see probably pull away from the pack too as well.
Seeing where the Rays are currently, knowing that they're waking up a little bit more on offense,
right?
They're cleaning up a lot of the fielding. I think that's what's making a lot of the difference, is they're not allowing all of these unearned runs. There was a time where I think it was like a 10-game stretch where there was at least 1 error on the scoreboard for the Rays, and like you can't have that and expect to win games. You can't allow, like, this little league stuff, guys. Like, you can't allow that. But now they're getting their team healthy. Kevin Kiermaier's back. Wander Franco's back. You just touched on it earlier. Manuel Margot's possibly going to be back a lot sooner than later. Are the Rays going to just stay the course, or are they going to make a splash at the trade deadline? Whether it's moving a bigger name guy on their team right now or moving some prospects, or are they just going to say, well, I mean,
if they stay the course, I'd say you may not make it to that wild card spot. I think they should make at least one move that really they need to get another power bat.
They do.
And maybe another pitcher to be in their rotation too as well. Yeah. That's the two things they should maybe target in this trade deadline too. Now, obviously, they're going to have to. We've talked about this many times on the show. You have to kind of give up those prospects if you're going to give up to get that, maybe that help or so. Now, obviously, I've heard rumors that Juan Soto is getting a huge multi-year deal with Washington, so he might be off the table now.
Yep.
So you're going to have to really see who's available and whatnot. I mean, I know there's a lot of teams that are right now kind of waving the white flag, so there's going to be guys available at the trade deadline. It just obviously is if the Rays are going to make that pull the trigger on that, which sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Kind of like picking a state.
Yeah.
But it's like that seems to be the trend or what the ownership of the Rays does is just be indecisive. It's like asking your wife.
Let me ask you. Will they pull the trigger at the trade deadline? Do you think they're going to make a splash?
Based off of everything that I've seen,
no. Yeah, don't think about it. Just say yes or no.
No.
Okay.
I think they stay this course.
Okay.
Which sucks because I think you are also right. Where if they do not make a trade, probably not going to make the playoffs, which we talked about a couple weeks ago.
Right.
There's a small time.
Now, let me ask you another question. Do you think the other two teams that are in our tightly knit race right now, the Red Sox and the Blue Jays, do you think they make any moves?
The Red Sox, no. The Blue Jays, yes.
Okay. I agree with you on that. I think the Red Sox they're playing Red Sox baseball right now. They don't really need any help. Blue Jays, on the other hand, they're kind of banged up right now. So I think they might go out and make a move to help them out. So
what about the Orioles?
Well, I was going to say Orioles too. Orioles, you never know.
The Orioles are right there from being in this race.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to wave a white flag. I think they're going to be maybe buyers in the trade deadline.
Yeah. I mean, when you're what, 5 games back?
6.
Which is you're 6 games back if you're the Orioles.
Yeah.
From being in second place.
Yeah. Why not?
Make it happen. Like why wouldn't you want to get in the mix? Just in every sport, all you got to do is get to the dance, man. You get to the dance, good things happen. Why do you think everybody loves March Madness?
Mm-hmm.
New York Giants made the playoffs when they were a wild card, beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl that year.
It's gonna be fun. I love this time. I love this time of year. This is like the second half for baseball is the fun time, man. That's when things start to get a little crazy, which is nice.
I hope it gets crazy in Tampa. St. Pete, because it's not in Tampa. So we think the Orioles might be a breakout team in baseball, and we hope that they are just for the sake of entertainment purposes. In terms of NFL, as we're heading towards the season, Evan, what team or teams do you think are on the verge of a breakout, on the verge of, and I'll take it even one further, what team do you think is going to regress as well?
I'm on the train of the Oakland Raiders of being them the breakout. Now, obviously, they had a pretty good season last season, but with this division that they're in is this is a nice, crazy ass division, and I think the Chargers are going to win this division overall.
Mm-hmm.
Chargers are, but Oakland is going to be in that second spot. Yeah, over the Kansas City Chiefs. I said it. Denver's going to be in. I just don't think it might take year two with Russ being there that Denver is look, they're going to be competitive no matter what. But I think Oakland, out of all the other three teams, Oakland's going to be that breakout. I know a lot of people are like, well, it's the Raiders. They tend to falter and stuff like that too. But yeah, man, I think they just had all the right pieces in the place now, where they're going to surprise a lot of people. And also too, your Detroit Lions might be a breakout team. I'm saying it, man. I want Dan Campbell to bite some kneecaps, bro. I'm pulling for the Lions. I think the Lions are going to be a breakout surprise team too coming up this season as well.
I'm with you on that. On both sides. I think that the Raiders are definitely, I think we talked about this during right around the draft time.
Yeah.
The Los Angeles Chargers by far won in free agency. And it wasn't even close. The Raiders got Devontae Adams. That's great. But the Chargers literally got everybody else.
Right.
Like, that team was already good. They were a Brandon Staley terrible coaching decision away from getting in the playoffs, which the Raiders obviously made the playoffs. And then if you look at it even further, the Raiders were one really, really, really bad touchdown call away from knocking off the eventual Super Bowl, not winning, but runner-up Cincinnati Bengals.
What are your thoughts on? Now, there's a lot of people that are high on the New York Jets because they did a lot of moves in the offseason as well. They did a lot of free agent signings. They really had a great draft too, just to where they drafted where they needed in the top picks that they had. I look at the Jets as an improvement team, not as a breakout team. There's a lot of people that think that the Jets are going to break out this year. I don't see it happening. Not this year, not next year. I still have so many questions about Zach Wilson as it is being under center for that team, where I'm still kind of up in the air about, is Zach Wilson the guy to be in New York? There's one team that's in Florida that could possibly be a breakout team, and that's the Jacksonville Jaguars. New coach.
Worse.
Well, yeah, it can't get any worse. That's true. But with a new coach and Doug Peterson, who is a winner, and you bring a new culture into that team where anything's better than when Urban Meyer was there. But they did a lot of moves in free agency as well. They had a pretty decent draft. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars might be a breakout team too as well.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, and Travis Etienne's coming back.
Yep.
They didn't have.
He's apparently almost at 100%. He's looking yoked. So,
I mean, what did you need to do for Trevor Lawrence? You needed to protect Trevor Lawrence, and they did that. They upgraded the entire offensive line. They protected Trevor Lawrence. Marvin Jones. Say what you want about Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones is a very solid possession wide receiver. Is he a good game breaker? No, he's not. But he's a solid possession. And also he's a solid veteran that can teach these younger players how to be a professional football player.
And I think too, the way the offense is going to be different is it's going to be more of a run team too as well, because that's how Peterson won when he was with Philadelphia. Was they had a 1-2 punch with up there in the Eagles. So I think that's going to be more of a focus on in the Jags' new offensive scheme too as well, because take a little bit off of Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
Don't expect Trevor Lawrence to make big plays. You want him to be more now as a game manager now, and use his run game to his advantage. And just don't try to force the ball down the field. Do like Tom Brady does. Make those 10 to 15 yard dump passes and then make the big plays after that. So
you know what's funny though is Tom Brady does a lot of those, and then you've got a quarterback like Jared Goff, where people are like, oh, he does just like those little and Tua, oh, he does those little 5-10 yard dink and dunk passes. And I'm like, well, the GOAT does those.
Yeah, Tom Brady does that.
Like that's another team to watch this year too, is the Dolphins.
I have high hopes for the Dolphins, but I just see the Dolphins disappointing a lot of people. I just do. I don't know why. It's the Dolphins. The Dolphins. I can see the Dolphins going to 500 at best,
which is not bad. I mean, that's what they finished last year.
Yeah,
500 at with the first year head coach. It's not terrible. I think what you need to see from the Dolphins is you need to see an improvement from Tua.
That's the thing that I'm really kind of iffy on is that.
Yeah, because you're okay. Well, Tyreek Hill says Tua is more accurate than Patrick Mahomes, which it honestly is fair to say if you look at the stats, because Tua is very precise.
Danny, you can be accurate in practice all you want.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like you're saying these nice things, and are they just nice things being said, or do you actually mean them?
Right.
I think Mike McDaniel is going to be a superstar head coach in the NFL, though. And I think that's what's really going to give them the edge, is because Mike McDaniel is going to know how to make Tua look like a superstar, even if he's not.
And this goes back to another team going back. There'll be another run-focused team. Do you see all the running backs they brought in?
Yeah.
For God's sakes.
Yeah.
So this will be another team that'll be really focused on the run, because McDaniels was a guy that focused on the run when he was in San Francisco.
Yep.
So this will be another run-focused team. So all you fantasy people out there, make sure you take a look at the Dolphins running backs, because they'll.
Do you think McDaniel uses either Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill in the same way that he used or designed plays for Deebo Samuel?
No, I don't see it happening.
I don't think either of them are as durable.
I think just the question comes down to is, can Tua be able to get the ball to either one of them? Especially Tyreek. Will he be able to get it to him? That's the biggest question. And right now, the sample size I've seen Tua trying to get the ball down the field is you're underthrowing most of the guys that you're throwing to.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think what McDaniels is, he's going to really use the strengths that Tua has and really kind of take advantage of those, and not try to like push the ball down the field and try to be so flashy with the flashy new toy that he has, which is Tyreek Hill. I think they're really going to be that. And almost you can say it's almost like small ball football, where you're going to do those. You're going to focus on the run game, and then you're going to have the 10 to 15-yard passes to move the chains. That's what I think is going to happen.
I can see that happening, especially like because we do know that Tua does underthrow the ball. Everybody knows that. It's easy to see.
Right.
Now, that also could be because his hip was not 100%, and he could not get the push. And who knows? But it is the Dolphins at the end of the day.
It is the Dolphins.
I mean, this is the last season was the exact perfect season of what the Miami Dolphins are. Was it not? They were a streaky team. They what did they start off like 1-6, 1-7, and then they went on an 8-game winning streak. And you're like, holy crap, the Dolphins are one win away from making the playoffs.
Right. In that division too, I mean, you're gonna be competing with pretty much the Patriots for that second spot. I mean, the Jets, no. I mean, the Bills are probably gonna win that division yet again.
Yep.
The Patriots still have a lot of question marks and things to work out still, since Tom Brady has left that team.
Yeah.
But I mean, Miami's place in the AFC East is, it's almost like theirs to lose and to give up if you're trying to make the playoffs, because that division is still kind of weak in the middle. Because I mean, it's the Bills, and then you have everybody else.
So we know like the AFC West, we'll say the AFC East, the NFC South, those divisions are pretty much already like a foregone conclusion of how they're going to land, right?
Right.
Are there any divisions that are like wide open off the top of your head? I almost want to say the NFC North.
That's wide open? No, well, the Packers, man. I mean, the Packers are going to take away that. What about the AFC South? That's a division that's kind of wide open. Because I mean, the Colts with Matt Ryan there, the Colts are going to be in it. The Titans are going to be in it. I mean, even looking at the Jaguars, like I said before, they could be competitive in that division too as well. And the Texans, don't sleep on the Texans too as well.
Yeah, Davis Mills coming into the second season. I mean,
yeah, I mean, and now they have a new coach too, which could, I mean, obviously we don't know how that could change everything, but when they had the interim there with Davis Mills, they did decent. So I think I would look at the AFC South as pretty wide open about maybe who could take that one too. And then also the AFC West. The AFC West has got it's a murderer's row of offenses on that.
That should be the AFC West should be all primetime games.
Right.
Whenever two teams from that division play, primetime, because that's I would expect we're going to see fireworks.
The AFC West now is what the NFC West used to be.
Yes.
That's
and
what it is now.
Just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
not very long ago either.
Like the AFC West is going to be the most exciting division to see, because those teams are going to beat up on each other every single time they play.
Yeah. And if your worst team is a Russell Wilson led Denver Broncos team, like come on, man. Like how I can't wait to watch AFC West games this season.
I know. Like it's going to be exciting to watch. I'm so high on the Chargers. I love seeing Herbert come out of college and just murder it, man.
Yep.
Especially a quarterback from Oregon, where most Oregon quarterbacks just fall on their faces. But like he came out just all guns a-blazing, and he's on a great team now. I mean,
yeah.
Bosa and Mac together on the same line.
it's
and you got J.C. Jackson now as your top corner. Like
just they won the offseason by a landslide, and it's I mean, you've got to if you're a Los Angeles Chargers fan, you've got to be thinking Super Bowl or bust.
Oh, honestly. You have to be
with the team that you have.
And LA fans need to take notice too, man. The Chargers are the second best team in LA.
Right. And it's
how much what
the Rams are than the Chargers.
Hot take. And I'm glad that you brought that a hot take. The Chargers will have a better record and do better than the Rams.
Ooh.
Hot take.
I like it.
That's why I'm at.
I could see, you know what? It's so tough though, because the Rams they get worse.
I think that's the Rams take a step back and have that Super Bowl hangover, and I think the Chargers will be that number one team in LA.
I could see that.
We'll see vintage Matt Ryan. Oh, not Matthew Stafford this year for the Rams.
But what will we see? Will the LA fans support the Chargers the way they do the Rams though?
If you win, baby, maybe.
I mean, because that's the thing though. That's what's so weird about having two teams in the same city.
Right.
You know, I think that New York or New Jersey, I'm sorry, that lawsuit is still going on, which is freaking ridiculous. I think New York does a good job of having support for the Jets and the Giants equally, where I don't see that in Los Angeles, whether it's from the fans, whether it's from advertising, from radio stations, etc. Like it's weird.
Well, it's LA. To me, LA is not really a football town.
I agree with that.
There's so much going on in LA. It's like you have almost like fair weather fans that go to see the Rams and the Chargers play. LA's more of a baseball town. I mean, the Dodgers like sell out pretty much every single game. That the draw is the Dodgers in LA.
They're baseball and basketball city for sure.
Yeah, football wise, I mean, it gave them a nice bump when the Rams won the Super Bowl this past year. But other than that, I mean, football's not really. I mean, when USC was really good, that football was the talk of the town too as well. But when it comes to pro football, LA's not the market. Maybe they'll move them, kind of like the Rays.
How crazy would that be if they moved again? I like that. I mean, I don't understand why the Chargers left San Diego. I get the state. Oh, perfect example. You talked on the Rays. Why did the Chargers leave San Diego? Stadium. One more time for the people in the back.
Which kind of boggles my mind too, because I've been to San Diego and I've seen the stadium where it's at. I mean, it's not a bad location.
Right.
The Padres, I think the Padres pay like right down the road from them too, so they're in a kind of like not a bad city. I just don't understand why they would move to LA. And you're just in a crowded city with two NFL teams. It just kind of seems stupid to me.
And they're going to get their own stadium now, apparently.
Yeah,
in Inglewood.
Look out, people! Chargers, man, Chargers. I know we're a Tampa sports podcast show, sports show, and a blog. But look out for the Chargers.
Small time.
Multimedia. Chargers where it's at.
I'm with you on the Chargers.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about things that really matter right now.
More celebrity boxing shenanigans.
Adrian Peterson and Le'Veon Bell, July 30th at the. It's so hard to say the crypto.com arena in Los Angeles. Like, it was the Staples Center for basically my whole life.
You know what? It's always going to be the Staples Center to me.
It's
crypto.com's arena does not roll off the tongue. Why
couldn't you just call it like the crypto arena and have have your logo as it? Because I don't know.
Come on, Staples.
I don't like it. Staples put it up. Who do you got in the? I have Le'Veon Bell by a landslide because I see how Le'Veon Bell looks, and I guess that's the only reason why is because I don't know what Adrian Peterson is conditioning like. I don't know what he looks like, and he's over.
You're taking Lev Bell. I'll take AP.
Okay.
Because he has a history of beating people. So I mean, sorry, too soon. No. I'll take. Well, I'll take AP if you're taking Lev Bell.
Okay.
It'll be like, to me, it's just going to be one of those boring celebrity boxing matches where they either one of them don't know really how to box correctly, and they're just flailing their arms all over the place. And then one of these guys is going to get hit with an overhand right, and then they're just going to get knocked out. That's what's going to happen.
Do you think that the winner of this match will challenge Frank Gore, who actually looks pretty good?
You know what? That would be kind of fun to see. Like, the winner of this challenges Frank Gore, who Frank Gore is a monster, dude.
Frank Gore is built like a tree trunk.
Right.
He's just like
Frank Gore is like 300 years old and has lived through wars and fought like dragons and stuff. That's how old Frank Gore is, and he still looks like he's a 20-year-old man built like a tank.
Yeah.
I would love to see Frank Gore go against one of the Paul brothers.
That'd be cool.
That'd be a good fight.
But Le'Veon Bell is the one that challenged Jake Paul, I believe.
Was it? I just want to see one of the Paul brothers get knocked out by somebody. That's all I want to see.
Boxing's fixed, man. I don't see that happening.
Well, yeah, I know.
That's the problem. I used to be a huge boxing fan. Floyd Mayweather used to be my guy. And this was when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, though, when he was coming up.
No,
this is before he became Money Mayweather, before you started going, okay, yeah, he's picking his own opponents.
And I'm just gonna dance. I'm just gonna dance around the ring and do a couple jabs just to get points. And yeah,
And I've seen him get his ass kicked a handful of times to somehow have an undefeated record. I'm not a fan of that.
Neither am I.
I'm just
never was a fan of him either.
What other NFL? We're just gonna stick with NFL. What other NFL celebrity boxing matches would you like to see?
Ooh, Richie Incognito.
Okay, against anybody
versus anybody. Yeah.
I would like to see Warren Sapp and Chidi Ahanotu.
I like to see that.
Like each other either at all.
I like to see that.
Wasn't
that going to happen at one point?
It was going to happen, and then I'm not sure exactly what happened. I don't know if that actually came around the same time as the arrest.
I think it might have dropped off because of like the money thing,
and that's entirely possible,
right?
But that would have been, I mean, because there's real bad blood there.
That's super bad blood.
Right, which is very strange. If you listen to conversation from either of these guys, it's such a strange reason why they don't even really seem to know why there's bad blood there. There's just is.
That's the best kind.
It's right. It's just so weird. It's just like, yeah, I don't like you.
Why are we fighting again? Oh yeah, okay.
Right.
No reason.
Was that in Step Brothers? I really just want to punch your face. Is there anything I can do about that?
Nope.
I mean, I would really like to see that one because I think that it would transition from a boxing match into an MMA match. more like a street fight. You remember I can't even think of his name anymore. The guy that we just lost. Kimbo Slice. You remember watching his old the ghetto fights,
the backyard fights? Oh yeah, where he would just murder people, where he would knock people's eyes out. Yes.
Good Lord. And I mean, but he was a draw in UFC too.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't that good, but he was a draw. And I think that's what the point of these celebrity boxing. Is any of this money like going to charity or what is?
No, I think it depends on how it's set up too, because most of these guys are getting paid like next to nothing, so it might go to charity. Now, if it's somebody hurting for money, then they're probably asking for a little bit. AP and Lev Bell aren't hurting for money, I don't think. So they might be doing this for charity.
Yeah, I could see I could see Le'Veon Bell possibly going on spending sprees more so than Adrian Peterson. Adrian
True.
Peterson seems like way more level-headed than Lev Bell does.
He seems more responsible with his money than Lev Bell does. Yes, I agree. Oh, you know who? Okay. I would love to see Antonio Brown fight somebody.
Fontez perfect.
That would be great. Or have AP or have Lev Bell go against Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I could see that. I'd be okay with that.
I'd be okay with that too. I think a lot of people would be okay seeing Antonio Brown get knocked out.
I agree. which is sad to say, but I mean it's true.
Bruce Arians versus Antonio Brown in a celebrity boxing match.
Antonio Brown just quits mid-match.
Yes. I'm out and dances away.
Yes. Pulls his pants down, leaves.
Yes.
Only available on pay-per-view.
Yeah. He gets hit once. He gets hit once. He goes, all right, I'm out. And leaves.
The hell is this? I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah.
My ankle is still injured. Jesus. Antonio Brown. What a guy.
What a character.
I can't do it with Antonio Brown. And it's sad because Antonio Brown was one of my favorite players in the league when he was on Pittsburgh. He like, do you remember there was a time where Antonio Brown was just really good, and he was kind of like a Calvin Johnson style player where he wasn't a diva, he wasn't in trouble, he wasn't doing all of these things, and you're like, well, he was on the Sports Center commercials. Like, what happened?
He kind of he was almost like under the radar for a while too, because he was one of the best receivers in the league, and he was like, he stayed quiet, he didn't get into trouble, and you're kind of like, okay, well, who's this Antonio Brown guy? And then he became like a psychopath, and
it's just weird that kind of really came out of nowhere,
right?
I mean, I guess in a lot of sense. Like the Ray Lewis thing, that kind of came. All of this stuff comes out of nowhere. No matter if you think that Ray Lewis did it, didn't do it, was there, wasn't there, yeah, etc. Like a lot of these character guys, like Ray Lewis is like highly regarded as like one of the greatest leaders of all time. And then of course, you got the White Knights, you're like murderer.
Yeah.
But it wasn't proved. O.J. Simpson.
Oh, he did that.
I guess wasn't proved.
He did that shit.
There's no way. There's just no way. Have you watched the People versus O.J. Simpson, that little mini series that they ran?
I didn't watch that. I actually watched the actual documentary, like the O.J. Made in America. I watched that. I didn't watch the mini series. I didn't watch that at all.
That was really good.
The Made in America, the documentary, or the other one?
Both.
Oh, both.
I thought they were both really good. I really enjoyed the miniseries. I thought that was really good. It opened up a lot of. It opened up it answered a lot of questions that I had, because that's, to me, that's one of those things that where you were when that happened. Like I still remember vividly spending the night at my grandma's house, and she always had the news on in the background, like muted. I was reading. I don't remember. I was reading a Goosebumps book. I don't remember. It was the Attack of the Mutant or something like that, right? And I remember sitting there and my grandma going, "Oh, Danny, look what's happening," and then explaining like what was going. Because I was like 8, 9 years old at the time. I didn't know. Kids nowadays when they're 8 or 9, they have no innocence left.
That's true.
They really don't.
I'm trying to remember where I was at when the whole chase thing happened. Was I at a dealership with my mom when she was getting her car fixed, or was that the day after? They were discussing it. I can't remember. It was so long ago. My memory's fuzzy. That was what, 92?
94.
94? Yeah, I don't remember. That's a long time ago.
It was so like I said, for me, it's one of those things, like 9/11. I remember exactly where I was during that.
I remember exactly where I was when that happened. I do.
Ironically, I was in world history class.
I was walking to world history class.
Yeah.
One
of those parallels. And like that was I still remember very vividly taking a test, and this was another situation, being in world history. Teacher always had the TV on, the news on in the background, and just hearing, as in the middle of a test, literally hearing her say, "Oh my God, put your pencils down."
I was walking to
I
class.
got goosebumps saying that right now, dude.
I was walking to class. I'm getting goosebumps right now. I was walking to class and wondering why everybody's looking at the TV as I was walking to class because I was late. And then after I got into class late, our professor was like, "Everybody go home." And I was like, "What? What happened? What? Did I miss something?" And then somebody told me, like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, I don't think that. I'm trying to remember when they really discovered that was like the planes were hijacked, because I know it wasn't initial. It was just like somebody crashed into the World Trade Center.
I think it was later on that day or the day after.
Yeah.
We're really getting off the rails on this one.
Kinda. we're all gonna we're gonna tie it all back here in just a second. Where were you when Anthony Edwards says that he's gonna come play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? He's not going to come play for the Buccaneers either, guys. Look, Tom Brady does what Tom Brady does, and this thing gets total steam because he says Anthony Edwards played in what? He played in like a Disney movie recently.
No, he was in that new Adam Sandler movie.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, that's what it was. And apparently he looked really good throwing a football, which I don't know how that translates to, hey, come play tight end for us. But apparently that translated to come play tight end for us. And now we're playing tight end for the Bucs.
It could happen. You never know.
You never know. Gronk's going to get to skip training camp and come back. So you never know. Anthony Edwards can skip training camp and come on in. You never know. Good Lord. That's going to wrap it up for us. I like when we get off the rails sometimes. It's fun. Gives more people things to talk about. That's going to do it for us today on this Wednesday edition of Channelside in the morning, live on the Channelside Sports Network. I am Danny. That is Evan. We'll be back here to do it all over again. Manana.